So now let's type php artisan make model named task, and let's create for this model migration and factory. Okay, and now let's go to database folder and let's go to migration for this task table, and here let's define first that our model will belong to some board, so boards will have own tasks, and this task can belong to one board. And to make this functional, we will need to create here field that will be named board ID, and let's type here for agent ID 4. So we're going to create a relation between board model and task model. So let's type here first board class, and let's type here board ID. Okay, and now let's create a new field with string type that will be named body, and also another field that will be named category, and inside this field we will save information about category of the task. So for example, we will have 4 categories. First it will be to do, next it will be in process, or maybe due today, something like this, and the final category it will be done. Okay, now let's create a relation between board model, as I said, and task model. So as you can see, I already imported here task model, so that means that we can here create another relation that will be named tasks, and by using this relation we're going to get all tasks that belongs to current model board that we will get in board controller in show function. Okay, so let's type here this has many tasks. So as I said, every board can have other tasks, and these tasks belongs to one board. Now let's go to task model, and here let's import board model. So app use models board, and here let's create a new relation that will be named board, and return this belongs to board model, so board class. So we say that every task must belong to some board. Now let's type here php artisan migrate, and as you can see, task table successfully created in our database. So that means that now we can create a task controller. So let's type here command php artisan make controller. Let's type task controller. Let's define models. So model flag, it will be task model, and requests. Okay, as you can see, we also have store task request, update task request, and yeah, that's all. So let's also create here new folder, because I want to have a nice structure in my application. So for every type, for example, so we have different requests for board model, and we have a separate folder for this request. So now let's do the same thing for tasks requests. And let's go first to store task request, and let's change here namespace, and it will be app http request tasks, and update task, and also app http task folder. Okay, now it's time. Oh, okay, let's save it. And now it's time to open task controller. So let's go to task controller, and here let's change this to app http task folder and task. Okay, so now we have a correct namespaces and separate folder for task requests. That means that it's time to write all functionalities that we need here. First, we don't need to use here create here, because for creation task I will create a form that will be already on show that view component on board folder or on board show page. So that means that it's time to create a store function first. So first let's open store task request, authorize true, and let's just define that body is required and type is string. And yeah, also we will need to define board ID. So let's type here just board ID required, and category is also required. So we'll type here required. Okay, now let's get validated data as we did this, for example, in board controller. So let's type here validated. And now we can type task equals task create data. Okay, and you can also define what show task function will do. So we'll just return here task. Or maybe I think, yeah, it's better to create a separate road for this. So we can remove this and we will do this later. For edit task, we don't need this function, so we can delete this because we will edit our task already on board show page. So that means that we don't need this function. Now let's move on to update, and here first let's copy rules from store task requests and let's paste it here. So let's type here, let's paste it and let's define that after ice equals true. And we can just do the same things that we did in store, but in this case we're going to update all data. So we can just type here task update data. Great, and in destroy function we can just type task destroy, or no, delete. Yeah, so delete, this is correct name of the function. And yeah, that's all. And also we don't need index function, we don't need creative function, because as I said, we're going to create a form that will be already on board show page. Okay, so now let's go to roads web.php file and let's import here task controller. So let's type here php controllers, controllers, task controller, and we're going to create a new road with resource type. So we can type here resource tasks, so tasks, and task controller class. Okay, so that's all that we need for now. And as you saw, we created a simple validation, we created a simple functionality here because we don't need here something special for now just. And yeah, so I have here show function, and maybe we can do this function now later for show functions. So we can just close task controller, and now it's time to continue development of our front-end part. Let's open our port index, no, show.view file, and here let's create a new form, and we will also create for this form a separate component. But first let's type here vfull, so it will be full width div, and here we can type block maybe shadow md and padding 6, or maybe it's better to 5. And here let's type heading 2 class text to Excel, or maybe just Excel, margin bottom 3, and let's type here create a new task. Okay, and after that we can type here maybe some input, create, or no, it's better to create a new form. Here we're gonna give action, but first let's add here a new class named flex, item center, and yeah, I think that's all classes that we need inside this form. And after that let's create here a new div, or maybe yes, we have div label, and inside this label let's type here task name, or maybe we can just type task, input type text, and we can copy styles for the inputs from our forms that we already created for registration and authorization. And let's leave maybe full width. Here we can say that width will be 103, okay, and again create another div. Here we can create a new label is category, so category, and inside this category div we create a new select field, and here will be 4 options. So first it will be to do, second it will be in progress, or maybe due today, something like this. So let's second it will be due today, and the last category it will be done. Okay, and here we can also copy styles from the input and paste it here by class tag, and let's add here values of 1, category 2, 3, and 4. Okay, 4, and let's create another div here, and inside this div we're going to create a select button, submit button I mean, and let's also copy styles for the submit button from the registration. And let's pass this class, and let's define type, it will be submit button as I said, and here we can just type add task. And now let's open our local server of the app. So I will need to start again my local server, and also npm run dev, and yeah, that's all. So now let me open browser to check how this works. And yeah, before we go to open browser, I forget also that we need to remove this code from the get homepage road. And now we can open browser, and as you can see, we see hello Inertia. Soon we're gonna make a home page, but for now let's go to the login page. Let's type here test example, password, and click on signing in. Oh, looks like I forget to type the correct credentials to my user, so let's go to phpMyAdmin. So let's open users table and let's copy this email and let's paste it here. And as you can see, we're now in our dashboard page. Let's go to the board, and as you can see, we have here this form, but I don't like this style, so I think it's better to add some margins between these fields. So here we can just type space x3, and maybe that's all that we need. So let's open browser again. And yeah, this looks much better. Yeah, so I think that's all that we need. So here we're gonna add tasks, and now let's add here submit function. So first let's import use form. So I will copy import from the registration.view, and now let's create a new form. So let's type here form, use form, and we will have here only two fields. So first it will be task, and second it will be category. Or maybe it's better to call this body, because as you remember, if we open create a task table, we have here only two fields. So this is body and category. And also, yeah, also it's better to define board ID field that will be equal to props. So let's create here props variable, and let's type here that board ID, it will be equal to props board ID. So that means that we get here ID of the current board that we are see in our browser. Okay, yeah, I think that's all that we need to import here. So now let's add here vmodel. So vmodel form body, and here also vmodel form category. Okay, and now let's go to submit. So submit prevent, and here we're gonna type that we want to call form post request. So we want to make post request, and we will make this post request to task road that we already created. And yeah, that's all that we need for now. But before we gonna check this stuff, let's see. So as you remember, here we have a store method. So that means that it will create a new task. So let's check how this works, and I think it's better also to refresh this. We can also open from developer tools, open view plugin, and as you can see here we have props board, and we have also form variables that we already created. As you can see, we have board ID, and let's try to change here body. As you can see, it's changed it. And now let's try to change category, and category ID is also changed. So that's nice, and that means that we can now try to add new task. So let's click on add task, and as you can see, board ID is to fillable. Okay, so that means that I need to add protected fillable guarded variable in my task model. So let's go here and let's type here protected guarded empty array, and yes, that's all that we need. Now let's try again this request. So let's refresh it, and let's type here again test. We can choose some category, so for example in progress, and let's click on add task, and we can now try to open our database, and let's go to tasks. And as you can see, we successfully created a new task in our database. So yeah, that's great, and that means that our form successfully works, but I think that it's better to make some changes here. So for example, maybe add some animation and clear these fields. And also now it's time to create here a new container where we're gonna create 4 columns, and we're going to create in every this column we're going to show tasks of the same category. So for example, first column, it will be tasks that have category to do. Second column, it will be column with tasks that have today, do today category. And for example, the latest column, it will be column where we're gonna show tasks that have done category. So let's do this. Okay, so first let's go to board controller, and here inside show function, let's get first, for example, we can get to do tasks. So to do tasks, and to get them, we can just use our board model and relations that we successfully created in one of the previous lessons. So as you remember, if you open board model, we have here tasks relation, and by using this relation we can get all tasks that we want. And for example, I can type here that I want to get tasks with category 1, and it will be temporary data, temporary solution for now. So now let's copy this. We can now type do today tasks. Yeah, and here will be ID2 of category in progress tasks. And here will be category 3, and the final variable, it will be done tasks, and here we will have ID 4. Okay, so now I want to open my browser, refresh it, and see what we have in our show. Oh, I forget to create a new props for all these variables that we created here. And we can create, maybe it's better to create only one variable, and inside it will be like an array. So for example, let's type here array, and maybe we can create an array that will be with key value. So for example, we can name this tasks, and here we can now say to do, and after that let's add here do today, and in progress, and done. And let's close this array, and after that let's go to show.view component, and here let's create a new prop that will be named tasks, and type it will be array. So yes, that's all. Now let's open the browser and let's refresh it, and let's go to our show component, and as you can see here we have tasks array, and as you remember I created a new tasks with body test with category 3, so that means that this is task is in progress, and as you can see here we have these tasks. Yeah, also we can add here resource if we want to filter all this data, but for now let's continue our development, and now let's add here 4 columns where we're gonna show all content, all tasks that we have. So let's create here new div with full, and we can, for example, double full, okay, and here we can, for example, type tasks container or something like this, and also add here flex class and space x3, and here will be first column with to do tasks. So let's type here column, for example, tasks call, and we can add here shadow sm, padding, maybe padding 4, and here we can type title, and it will be named to do. Now let's add here line, and let's copy this 3 times. Here we type do today, in progress, and done. And inside in progress call, let's create here another div, and here we're gonna use v4. So v4 loop, because I want to get all tasks that I have in tasks prop. So I will type here tasks, and as you remember I created here a new element that is named in progress, and here we save all tasks that are in progress category. So let's type here just in progress, tasks in progress, and we will type here tasks in progress, okay, and key it will be task ID, and here let's show just the body of task, and let's go to our browser, and as you can see we have our task showed, but I see that we need to make this container for full width, and yeah, I see, yeah, I need to add sizes of these 4 columns. So here I will type w14, and let's copy this class, let's paste it here and here. And we can just now copy this code, and also we will make this like a separate component, but for now let's try to just show all tasks. Let's format these lines, and here we will change tasks that we want to get, so it will be just tasks.done. Let's paste it again, and here will be do today tasks, task with this category. Let's click tap again, okay, let's copy again, and the latest column, this is do to do, yeah, okay. So let's open browser. As you can see, I think we will need to add more some design for these columns, but for now let's try to add a new task again. So for example, create a nice design for my app, and it will be in category do today. We click add task, and as you can see our task is here. Okay, so I want to make some changes in our task form. So first I want to, when we submit this form, to clear body and category fields. So we can create here a new function named create a task, and we are going to call this function when we submit this button. So we can copy this code, and here we can just type create a task. So that means that will mean that we want to call here create a task function that we created here, and here we just make post request to task route that we created, and here we can type now form body equals to nothing and form category equals to nothing. And also here I want to type selected, so by default to do category will be selected every time when we want to create a new task. So as you can see, now let's try to refresh it, and as you can see, yeah, to do task to do category is selected by default. So we can type now, let's try to create a new task in done. So let's type here task done, let's click add task, and as you can see, task successfully added, and also our form is cleared. Okay, that's really great, and I think now it's time to add here more stylization and also create a separate component for column with some tasks that have categories that we created. Okay, so let's create a separate component for a column. So here inside my board folder, I'm going to create a new component that will be named board. Oh yeah, so new file, not folder, so board column that view. And now let's create here template. Let's also create a script setup, and here we are going to have some props. So first let's define props. So first it will be title, and this prop will have string type and tasks, and it will be array. Okay, and now we need to import this column components that I created. So let's type board column, and let's change all this stuff. So first let's type here board column, and so first let's create a board column for to do. So here I'm gonna type to do title, and tasks, it will be equal to tasks to do. Okay, and now let's copy this code and let's paste it here. Let's format these lines, and let's also show title. So we're going to type here just title and task in tasks. Okay, and yeah, let's format all this stuff. Also, I want to add some paddings and maybe margins. So first let's add here margin top 10, and yeah, that's all. Okay, so let's go back to show that view, and we can create another column, but by using board columns that we just created. Here will be title do today and tasks do today. Copy again, and we can delete this column, and it will be in progress, and we're going to type here in progress tasks delete, and copy one more time, and it will be column for tasks that are done and tasks that done. So let's delete, let's save it, and yeah, I think that's all that we need. So now we have a separate component for board column, and that means that we can now start customizing this task card. So before we're gonna do this, let's also add here some maybe more stylization, I don't know, but first let's go to our local server. Let's see what we have. So as you can see, everything works fine, but before we're gonna try to create a separate component for task card, let's create a new task. So let's type here test in progress, and let's click add task, and as you can see, task successfully added. So that means that we can now get back to Visual Studio Code, and inside we can type task card.view. Let's create here empty template tag, so template, and script tag, where we're gonna define props, and we will have here for now just only one prop, and it will be task prop. So define props task object, where we're gonna save here all information about current tasks that we want to show here. Okay, so that means it's time to import this task card component that we created. So import task card.view, and here we will have not div but task card. So we can close this, and here we can now define div. So div class shadow sm maybe we can also add some padding bottom 4, and also some padding 4 also, and maybe also some border radius. So I will add here rounded SM, and we are going to show body of the current task. Okay, I think that it will work, so let's check it. And as you can see, we don't see anything. Maybe we have some error, so let's go to console. And as you can see, cannot read properties of undefined reading body. Okay, so I understand. So we have trouble inside task card, and maybe this is problem with our task prop. So yeah, I understood. So I forget to bind here value of the task prop that we created. So here we need just to type we bind task, and it will equal to task. And if we now go to browser and refresh it, as you can see, now everything works fine. And also we can have here more stylization. Also, yeah, let's add here for this line margin bottom, and also add some stylization for these titles. So let's go to board column.view component, and here let's type text Excel, font bold and uppercase. And also for this line, let's add margin bottom 3. I think that will be fine. And as you can see now, this looks much better. Yeah, great. So, okay, this is really nice. But I want also to add here maybe some modal. So where we, for example, click on in progress column, I want to see modal where I will see created tasks form, and by using this form in model, I will create a new task in progress column. So yeah, we can add this, but before we're gonna do this, I also want to make task editable. So that means that here I will need to define maybe not prop. I will need first to import ref. So let's import ref from view package, and let's type here is editing false. We can also use here reactive if we want, but I prefer to use here ref that we imported. So let's type here is editing false, and we can also add here, for example, that double click. So if we double click on this task card, we will type that is editing is now equal to true. And now let's type here that if is editing, so if is editing ref is equal to true, we're going to show here input field. So let's type here input field, type text, and we can maybe add here remodel for now, but for now let's leave here just empty input, and let's add here just border, and maybe that's all for now that we need. And another citation, else if we are not editing this task in task card, we will just show task body. And also I think it's better to make this task body text smaller, so I will type here text SM, so that means text small. And if we open our browser, you can see we have smaller text. And if I make double click on test card, you can see we have here this input field. Okay, now I want to make this maybe it's better to type here is editing, so is equal to is not editing, so it will change value of the is editing ref. So for example, if I click double click on test card, it will change to input, but if I click double click again, you will see we see again task body. Okay, so now I want to make here forms. To create this form, I'm gonna import use form from Inertia package. So let's do this, and here let's type form use form, and as you remember, here we need to define fields that we want to have in our form. So in my case, it will be just only one field, and it will be body. And that means that here we will need to create a new form that will submit this form, and also add that prevent, and it will make request to tasks, and it will update task. And here also I want to have maybe task ID field, which will be equal to props task ID. So let's move on this define props function, and let's create here props variable that will save information about current props. Okay, so now we have form, but I don't remember that we finished our backend for tasks, so let's do this.